At the beginning of January 2022, a Discord server would face the greatest foe it's ever seen: the power of its own people. Emperors and empresses would rise to power to create vast armies, orders, democracies, and dictatorships. And a new regime would be born in the chaos: the CC Empire. December 1st, 2021. The CC Empire is an unprosperous server. Having only gained over 15 members in a month, it is severely undeveloped in power. All members of the Empire were bored. Some considered leaving the server. To bring entertainment and looking for a place of power, a young and strong-willed individual would come into the spotlight. His name is Justice Tucker, but here, he was called Trench.
Alright, for the beginning of the server was fun, because there was no Infinite Emperor, no all of that hanging out until we decided who the first Emperor was gonna be.
About Trench, it was like, to me, you seemed like mysterious, but it wasn't only mysterious, it was like there was also something there that I could tell, because it's something I have, like I can notice a similar thing. Don't always wear like a long-ass trench coat everywhere you went, but yeah.
He was a little mad, but I do not think he had bad intentions. I think he was trying to be a proper ruler, but he just became tainted over time.
Trench would go forth to attempt to bring a leader to the CC Empire in a way that could spark entertainment and revive the silent server, using the same technique he had used prior, this time in more serious terms. With the card game Uno. On December 9th, he announced to the server, "The war begins soon. To decide who shall become the all-powerful emperor, there will be a battle. The battle shall be decided in a tournament of Uno." In response to his announcement, only 3 members responded. On December 10th, the game to decide who would become the leader of the server began, with 2 of the members that had responded to Trench's announcement having entered. These 2 would have some of the biggest impacts in the CC Empire: Mason Mass Thompson and Remy. This battle was between Mason, Remy, and Trench himself. They were on a strict schedule, and as the game progressed, they realized they were running out of time to finish it. As time ran out, they had to decide the victor not following regular Uno rules. Normally, the one with 0 cards wins and ends the game. Instead, they chose the winner on who had the least amount of cards. The one with the least amount of cards was Mason. This made him the first ruler and leader of the CC Empire. He was quickly titled Ultimate Emperor.
That was a fun time, until I got taken out of power for no reason at all.
I don't know if I really was truly there for that. I just remember that, like, he was emperor for like 2 seconds supposedly, and then absolutely gone.
I remember that at least a few people were a little upset about it because they didn't win, but that's just about it, honestly. It was an Uno game, so I didn't think it'd be that serious until a month later.
With Mason now emperor and the highest point of power in the empire, the people of the server now had someone to look up to. But this didn't completely boil over well. Some members disagree with the victory of Mason, or that he should have taken over. Among those members include Trench. He believed he should have won and taken over the empire. To further his lust for power, he schemed up a plan. There is a rule in the CC Empire that those with trench coats or something similar to them are given the CC role, a powerful role which allows you to overthrow other laws or rulers if the majority all vote to it. Trench planned to use this as his advantage. He announced to the server the same day as the victory. Mason, yes, you may have won, but members with trench coats can technically overthrow that and cause a vote or election to occur. Mason will still be the ultimate emperor until the election ends. To his announcement, the members with the CC role voted to start an election, and thus, very quickly, as fast as Mason had won, he was overthrown. The election candidates were announced later on as Trench, Mason, Ben, Timothy Jones, and Caleb Backey. As the election went on, many candidates went around asking for members to vote for them. However, Trench had a head start on this, and had already secured multiple votes. Trench had the slogan for his election as, "If you want power, vote for me," using everyone's want for power as his advantage. Mason had a slogan for himself as well. "Fuck it, I don't have one." 5 days after Mason had won, the election votes were decided. The votes are not in the history books, but the result was clear. Trench had won in a landslide. He became the second ultimate emperor.
Well, I was mad because it all happened just because I was taken out of power just for that to happen immediately.
You voted for me? You voted for me? Thank you. To the ones that haven't, your status will be decided by the CC's new government, which will be instated soon, but thank you to the ones that voted for me and to the ones that haven't, because either way, it does not matter. This empire will continue on schedule, as planned, and my rule won't last long. Because with me as emperor, you'll wish you never voted for me. With his conquest to gain supreme power complete, he set in line to do what he had been planning. In the time he was emperor, he made Caleb his vice-emperor and Mason his speaker of the server. He created an army and acquired generals and commanders for it. He created a government to keep the server in line as well. It's unsure as to how it happened, but on January 11th, 2021, Trench made an announcement to the server saying he had been code word executed, which meant he was no longer Ultimate Emperor. He immediately mentioned that there would be another power vacuum and began the plans for a second election. All the laws Trench had made and the point of power everyone was in fell apart when he was no longer emperor. There was no one to uphold these laws, thus it all went down with him. 3 days after his fall from power, the election began. However, it seemed something was brewing in the shadows. A plot that possibly is how Trench was overthrown. The candidates were Mason, Caleb, Jackson Riley, and Brave Perrette. Caleb was gaining help from Trench, and all the votes but one went directly to him. Caleb was elected third Ultimate Emperor of the CC Empire. It is thought that Trench had planned this all along, helping to elect Caleb to keep the entertainment of the Empire alive.
I just remember he became, like, I heard about, like, because I wasn't actually, like, involved in it or anything, or, like, in the server yet, but I remember that there's, like, a little bit of, like, controversy walking around that, like, Caleb became the Emperor and then did a whole bunch of shit, like, destroyed and got rid of so much stuff, but then he got overthrown at that point.
Caleb was an ambitious and spear-headed individual. Many members of the server had believed there was voter fraud due to the amount of votes Caleb gained over everyone else. In response to this, Caleb announced to the server on the day of his election, "There was no voter fraud contrary to what you all may think. Every vote obtained was legit. I will lead this server to peace, liberty, and more in the name of America. I'll make my first act in law be that Genshin Impact is banned from this server. I hope everyone will follow me in my journey to rig every election and the world of pedophilia. After this, he immediately moved to put the server back into order, making Garret Martin his vice emperor and Trench his speaker. He moved to put more members into the army, asking if anyone would care to join. He used methods that were part of the fun he was having with the server, such as allowing members to join the army if they made him laugh, or asking for a drip check. Anyone who disobeyed his laws would be given the pedophile role to serve the purpose of a criminal or lawbreaker role. His reign of power went far, creating what he called democracy, but was truly dictatorship. In his time as emperor, there was not much after this that he did, which was not part of Trench's plan of entertainment. To answer if Trench wanted to be overthrown, the answer is yes. At this point in time, everything Trench was doing was to further his own power, to keep the entertainment going and the server alive. As soon as Caleb had stopped doing much in the server, Trench had already planned his downfall. He had come up with a new plan which could remove Caleb from power. He knew the members of the Empire wouldn't choose to take him down due to the good leader he was, and how he kept the server in peace. So he asked Caleb to do something new that he told him would further his quest for dictatorship, which was banning the one thing most people in the server love: anime. At first, Caleb was against it, knowing that it would turn the members of the server against him. However, Trench encouraged the opposite. It would be a statement of his power over the other members. After a frivolous conversation, Caleb agreed. On February 2nd, Caleb banned anime. This would be the last act as emperor he would ever make. Unknown to Caleb, on the day of his election, 30 minutes before he would be crowned emperor, Trench made a law in private that any member of the Empire could vote to overthrow the emperor. To encourage other members to notice what Caleb had done, Trench banned Star Wars, DC, and Marvel with Caleb's approval. He then banned power unless they had the CC role or higher, which only included Speaker, Vice Emperor, and Ultimate Emperor. To all of this, members of the server finally began to notice. They began resisting, which caused the entertainment Trench desperately wanted. One of the members who had resisted included Mason, whom Trench revealed the law he made to among others. He agreed with the law along with these others, with one goal: take down Caleb. As soon as everyone voted to remove Caleb, he became aware of what was happening and deleted the law. However, Caleb made a grave error. He never created a law that would restrict he could be overthrown. So Trench made a new law when Caleb had gone offline. If the Ultimate Emperor does not respond in 2 minutes, Mason will temporarily be Ultimate Emperor for 10 minutes. This law cannot be bypassed unless the Ultimate Emperor responds. Those that supported Caleb called for him to return, but alas, 2 minutes later he did not respond. Caleb was no longer Ultimate Emperor, and Mason took his place.
Oh, that was a glorious time because he got banned from being emperor right after because he kept banning stuff that we couldn't do.
In the short time Mason was given as emperor, he unbanned everything Caleb and Trench had banned and removed all of his laws. Garret was made his vice emperor and Trench his speaker. After it had been 10 minutes, Mason was taken down from his role as Ultimate Emperor, meaning the Vice Emperor became the Ultimate Emperor. Garret Martin, whose decisions would impact the Empire forever.
Well, it wasn't a bad emperor. He was actually pretty good.
This is when I really started coming in and like where I like met you, and where you sort of got me into the server was you're trying to get Garret to be emperor. I remember Garret and you were kind of like looking for like allies or people that could be on like the inside, and then you came to me and asked me about it, and then that's how sort of that's kind of like how the messengers and Yin were born.
However, because Garret did not have Discord, the speaker would have to take over until his arrival, which was Trench. Becoming Ultimate Emperor for the second time, his goal was to keep his power. However, when it was informed to him that days later Garret now had Discord, his power was lost. He willingly transferred it to Garret, who became the third Ultimate Emperor. As Ultimate Emperor, Garret took in a lot of help from Trench. Trench was made his Vice Emperor due to him being Speaker before his temporary takeover as Ultimate Emperor, and Caleb was made Speaker. However, realizing that Garret could be overthrown the same as Caleb, Trench came up with a devious plot. He asked Garret to give Caleb and himself the criminal role, and to announce to the server that they were criminals. On February 8th, Garret announced, Trench and Caleb are to be seen as criminals, or have the criminal role. While criminals, Trench and Caleb plotted with Garret, using a strategy that Trench had come up with on the spot. He reached into his backpack frantically, pulling out a notebook. He ripped out a piece of paper and slammed it onto a wall, writing the words, Contract of the CC.
The first contract? Oh, I hated the first contract. I got tracked down and was forced to sign it.
The very first contract was like, you're signing this, and by signing this, you hand over your vote to Garret. And I remember that you wanted me to sign that, and then I started questioning things. Like, I asked, like, what's in it for me? What's the point of, like, signing this? And then you told me what the true point of it was, and then I would say I saw an advantage. I saw an opportunity, and then I asked the question if, like, I could create a certain higher power role, like what I was saying earlier, the messengers, and you allowed that. So it kind of got me into just a perfect position to just, like, play out any scenario. And overall, the first contract was just, like, make Garret Emperor and what Garret promises, but he wouldn't be able to be overthrown at that point because he had every single, like, vote for people with the role of CC, Co-Clan.
I remember it was very suspicious. I signed it reluctantly. It's suspicious, I guess.
Trench went around getting signatures for this contract, which came with a simple term. By signing this, you sign away your power to Garret, the Ultimate Emperor. As a criminal, he got exactly enough signatures that he needed to ensure Garret couldn't be overthrown. There were 30 members by this point in the Empire. Therefore, he just needed enough signatures to where the members of the Empire couldn't vote to overthrow him. With 16 signatures gained and no one to stop them, he asked Garret to approve their overall plan. Garret agreed and announced that Trench and Caleb were no longer criminals. Trench announced to the Empire on February 10th. Allies, members, governors, friends of CC. There is an important announcement. You may know that there is a contractor going around making people sign a contract. Me. This contract read, by signing this, you sign away your power to Garret, the Ultimate Emperor. 16 of you signed it. And unless it gets destroyed, it's still in effect. Therefore, Garret said, Justice and Caleb are also Ultimate Emperors. Trench continued, meaning no one can stop it because most of you signed away your power in the Empire. However, there are those that have not signed it. They will be found. And this Empire is new. Better, the CC Authority will find those that have not signed it. Thank you for your cooperation. Trench and Caleb were effective immediately placed as emperors alongside Garret, the 3 emperors of CC. As soon as this took place, Mason tried to use his Vice Emperor powers to protect himself from it. Soon after, Trent sent a man named Joshua Brown after Mason in a full suit and tie with the contract, and returned to Trench with Mason's signature. Trench the next day used the CC army to search for those that had not signed the contract. Anyone that had signed it could join the CC government. Vote to become Speaker of the Empire, a general, or a soldier of the army. One day, A woman named Yana helped with the signatures and got 15 more people to sign it. For this tremendous amount of lives devoted to the Empire, Trench gave Gianna a title, the Source. Rave Perret was a staple of defiers who refused to sign the contract. He swore he would never sign it. He even ripped the contract itself, but not fully. A man named Rarthogs became the general of the CC army, and Trench drafted random members to serve. He also did many other things, such as... During this time, a man came into contact with Trench. A man who would cause some of the greatest changes to the Empire of all time, and spark the greatest revolt and rebellion in the history of the server against himself. His name is Dominic Sanchez, but here, he was called Black Rose Yin.
So Yin was a false name, a false identity, and I thought of that because of multiple reasons. One is because that's often how I'm perceived as like Yin, but also I wear that's the colors I wear, is a lot of black and a little bit of white often. I remember I still have it. I wore my notorious black coat everywhere that I went, and often had my hood over my head. So it was kind of like obscuring my face a little bit, but also I never saw what my real name was, which was good because anyone that I met in the Empire and anyone where we were, Caleb and all the rest, they all called me and they never knew my real name or called me by my real name at that point. And that's sort of when my role as the messenger kind of became really proficient, because I was kind of just able to watch over everything, and if I wanted to, I could probably manipulate or control certain stuff, but it's not how I meant to use the role.
I knew a shitstorm was brewing. No one else saw it. I was there watching it fucking turn into flames, CC Empire. Nobody believed me. Everybody thought I was crazy. And look who's laughing now.
Black Rose Yin was a very secretive, intelligent individual. Trench and Yin spoke and discussed the history of CC. They found that they were very similar in thought, and Yin made many predictions about how the Empire could be stolen from someone who knows how to actually lead it. He said that in days he could take over the Empire if he wanted, and this intrigued Trench. Yin became interested in CC and decided to join. Yin and Trench began to discuss plans and concerns. Yin brought up an idea, an account that could supervise and know everything within CC without anyone knowing. Trench agreed almost immediately. Yin created this account and called it Shadow. Shadow's true identity was known only to Trench. He announced on February 17th, "Everyone, important announcement. Shadow is now the entity to talk to about anything that regards the CC Empire. Anything you say to him is entirely confidential. Nobody, not even the Emperors, will know what happens when you interact with him." Shadow responded, "Think of me as the ultimate resource, for I am the shadow of the CC Empire." The Empire stayed in peace, prospering higher than it ever had before. However, as always, the peace is destroyed by chaos of some kind. On February 22nd, a man who had been part of the CC Empire for quite some time, opposing the laws and its leaders, decided to be first to declare war against the entirety of the CC Empire. Bo Shay, also known as Crafty Sumo.
Oh, I love that because it was just drama. I was eating popcorn and watching.
First time we declared war, I played kind of a role in that because, as a messenger, I knew, a lot of outside information. It was kind of just, an inside man to the whole thing. I remember when Crafty Sumo tried to have me join it, I said no, and that I was going to involve myself, but simple trick on my part, I'm not going to involve myself. This just means I'm just going to watch over. But eventually got to the point where my information was a key part, I feel in winning. And then ultimately it was the information that I had and could provide, as well as the help of you and all the other people of the Empire, was able to eradicate Crafty Sumo.
Now massively stupid going in solo against an empire. I think that was just after I joined the military, I believe. I didn't personally do an attack on Bo in whatever regards you do it on the server, but I was still a part of it, so I did find it massively stupid him doing it alone, though, basically.
I declared war out of boredom.
He announced to the server, "My family was brutally slain by the CC Empire. I'm declaring war on the CC Empire and its leader, Trench." In response to this surprising turn of events, Trench was exhilarated by it, excited by the coming war. He drafted a declaration of war against him and presented it to Sumo. If Sumo destroyed it, they were immediately at war. If he did not, he would be left off, but required to pay the Empire in return. Sumo immediately destroyed that declaration. As General Rarthox prepared his army, Trench went to other servers to create treaties. This included the Ultimate Alliance, created by Rafe Perret, the Upper Class, created by Joshua Brown, and even Bagfest, created by Jackson Riley. Over 182 members of the combined servers joined together to force Sumo to surrender. As the war continued, Trench watched Yin with close interest. He saw something in Yin, and it scared him. If the current emperors were ever to fall, Yin has such great ties with the Empire, including the influence he could use as his alter ego Shadow to take control of the entire Empire. In this, Trench realized he needed a plan to take down Yin if he needed to. He couldn't come up with any but one, as it was too late for any others. If the Empire saw what Yin would be like in power, while Trench had a private power hold in secret, could eliminate Yin in time, at the same time making him be viewed as a terrible leader. So, he chose to give Yin his power. But how could Yin ever take power? He wondered. Garret and Caleb would never agree to this, and he wouldn't have trusted them with the knowledge of his plan. He knew Yin could influence them to tell the truth and Trench's true intentions. It was here that he found a weakness in the contract that multiple members signed, giving their power to Garret. The contract stated that if they signed, they would sign their power away to Garret, the Ultimate Emperor. If Garret ever said he was no longer Ultimate Emperor, it would mean the people signed their power to someone who doesn't exist. Garret is different from Garret the Ultimate Emperor. Two different titles, signing away your power to. Signing your rights to a man who simply does not exist. So, Trench explained this weakness to Yin, but with a twist. He wanted Yin to take control of CC. His reasoning to Yin being that the Empire constantly needed chaos to keep it alive, or else the entire Empire would die out, like it had during Caleb's era until he was taken down. Yin agreed, of course, finally taking the power he said he could so easily gain, but completely oblivious to Trench's true intentions. Yin made a separate contract called the Contract of Frere, and had specific members, including those with the CC role, and all the Emperors sign it. The contract stated, "By signing this contract, you are hereby agreeing to, in the event that the CC Empire falls, your vote and power will be signed to Yin to further develop and bring peace and prosperity to the CC Empire. You will be given a great hope and a share of power to further bring peace and structure to the CC Empire, from one to another and forever passed on and known as the Empire of Creation." Trench told Yin to put this plan into motion as soon as Sumo surrendered. He soon got Garret to send a message that said he was no longer Ultimate Emperor. Garret believed it was a joke, but unknown to him, it would be the message that would end his reign of power. Yin promised to keep Trench secretly in power when he took control. Sumo surrendered to the entirety of the CC Empire on March 2nd. On this same day, the CC Empire fell. Garret, Trench, and Caleb fell from power. Black Rosian became the 4th Emperor of the CC Empire.
Oh, Yin's takeover was absolutely terrible. I hated it. Sorry, Dom, but that was the worst. That was one of the worst. I cannot speak. That was one of the worst times.
I remember the exact way that happened, because in the original contract with Garret becoming emperor, I remember you made a change to that because you thought that eventually after that happens, I'd become emperor anyways, because a lot of people trusted me, as well as, like, I'm sort of just, like, off to the side and don't really, like, cause chaos. I kind of just watch over everything. And then I remember I also wanted, when you told me about this and you said that if anything were to happen, you'd want me to be empire, and I agreed to that. I remember the very strict change to the contract because there was no actual way to have Garret. In a sense, like, there was no way for Garret to not be emperor anymore unless he relinquished it himself. But that also came apart with the contract. If the CC Empire were to ever fall, or its leader were to ever resign, Yin would then become the new emperor by default and take over. And I remember you had a message from Garret that you, like, showed me, and you deleted it, like, right away, but I screenshotted it before you were able to, like, fully delete it. But yeah, it was basically, like, him saying that he relinquished his ownership as a joke, but then that was used as proof in, like, a actual, like, I want to say in, like, a court case, because I don't know if that's, like, what it really was, but it was like that day when it was, like, fully known that Garret had released his hold or leadership of the CC Empire. You then proceeded with the second part of the contract, which made me emperor.
I found it far too convenient. I don't believe he completely did it on his own as much as Shadow is him. So I do think outside of Shadow, which is himself, he did have extra help, but I don't know what that help is. But the point is, didn't care. He either cared too much or cared too little at any point in time.
I remember being horrified and that we needed to stop this, and luckily I found a group of people. Some would call terrorists, others, like me, would call them heroes, the mates.
Hello, all my members. This is an important announcement that I felt I had to make. If it wasn't clear already by the announcement made in the CC Empire Discord, well, it's best I start from the very beginning. There was a contract that you know that I made, and made most of you sign it. Some forcefully, some not. However, I did make most of you sign this, and some of you signed it willingly, and it entitled that whoever signed it willingly gave their power away to Garret, the Ultimate Emperor. Which meant that the majority of the people that signed it technically could not overthrow him by vote anymore, because they signed their power away to him. So Garret promoted me and Caleb to be his ultimate emperors because he had an ability to, and he could. No one was there to stop him or vote against him. Most of the people had signed their power to him. So he did that, and then there was one small problem with it. By signing the document, you're signing your power away to Garret the Ultimate Emperor, not Garret. So essentially, if you signed that, you did sign away your power to him as long as he is Ultimate Emperor. But the moment he says that he's not, all of our power crumbles, and everything that he did won't matter. The contract essentially will be useless. Recently, Garret made an announcement that was a joke, that was false, saying that he was no longer Ultimate Emperor. And that was true. Essentially, it was meant to be taken as a joke, but it ended up being true. Because he still said it. So, I am no longer Ultimate Emperor. All those in the CC army that served me, thank you for your service. And all you generals, vice emperors, speakers, everyone, the source, the messenger, Shadow, all of you, thank you for your service. And, well, it has been nice being leader. But there was a contract made that in the event that the CC Empire crumbles, Yin will take control of the CC Empire. And he has, so you must follow his lead. He promised to bring peace and prosperity to the CC Empire, so it's that he has to do. And Yin, a message to you, I hope you fulfill your promise, because if you don't, you know I'll be there to make sure that you do. But anyways, to everyone, my allies of the other servers, yes, you'll have to talk to Yin now, instead of me, or Garret or Caleb. It has been nice. I'll see you later, my friends, or whenever I do see you.